everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. I'm so excited. I know I've been like posting videos on me wearing my merchandise. That's also super exciting. Merch, never give up on love. The first collection, Fashion Bunker store. Link under this video. There's a bar. You could scroll with all the products, t-shirts, mugs, baby wear, mobile device covers, stickers, posters, what have you. This is hand-drawn. I mean, I don't hand-drawn every piece, obviously, but this is my handwriting, my drawing, and then we digitalized it and then printed on all sorts of things. So, check out the merch, guys. Super exciting. So that's why I'm wearing it all the time, because I'm really in love with it. I'm so happy with it. The more I wear it, the more comfortable it gets. But I'm also really excited because of this. You know I love Chanel sunglasses, but I mean, this is, as the thumbnail and title state, this is the first piece, and that's why I'm so over the moon excited. This is the first piece of Chanel Haute Couture that I own in my collection. This is the Haute Couture Fall Winter 2007 collection. It was one of those rare magical moments when Karl Lagerfeld decided, for who knows what reason, for winter, by the way, sunglasses, to create haute couture pieces that are like jewels for the entire kind of collection. Like many models came out on the runway wearing sunglasses for that fall winter collection. What is really funny is that day, I mean, the show was, they did it outdoors and it was raining, and and they had like these rocks and pebbles all over the place that the models. I mean, it was a bit of a tragic, disastrous moment because they worked with a lot of feathers and a lot of embellishments. I mean, it's haute couture. Everything is handmade. So it was really tough to kind of keep the models composed, to keep everything, you know, to keep the feathers fluffy. I mean, it was amazing. Tragic, but amazing. That's what you get, Karl, for designing sunglasses for winter. Weather was like, I ain't gonna let you do that. So maybe that scared him off. And in fact, since 2007, no other haute couture show really had such a dedicated part of the collection to sunglasses. Since fall winter 2007, haute couture, mind you. So I hunted this one down. So yes, I saw the collection back in 2007. Now it's 2018. So 11 years. 11 years of waiting. Patiently waiting. This is kind of a real old school Chanel sunglass case. It's a French version of it. And yes, this is haute couture. So haute couture, Chanel haute couture is made in France. And so are these. So I keep them literally in a white tissue because I want to protect all the crystals and all the little bits and bobs that are attached to it, because this piece is insane. I don't even want to do, I don't even want to put the microfiber. I don't even think they might even be too chemical for this. You know, I just want like tissue paper, classic old school tissue paper to be put just to protect them, because there's like kind of like a silk netting on which they kind of sew all of these crystals onto, and then they place the entire bit on the temples and on the front of the glasses. Now, they do look super simple when you look at them like this, but let's look at them close up. Haute Couture Chanel, what can I tell you? I mentioned in another video of mine that, you know, Chanel does do once in a blue moon eyewear for their haute couture collections, and this was the case for these. So let's see up close how they're really constructed. The temples are in acetate, but they do have internally there's like a little step, so they're a bit more hollow on the front panel side of the actual temples, so that this bit with the crystals has been added later on. So the ateliers, the haute couture ateliers of Chanel, what they did is they work on these like layers of, it's kind of like a silk net or a satin net on which they would sew or embroider all of these crystals, because they're all the ones that have holes in the middle, they're all hand embroidered. Let's see if it can focus for us. And then that's kind of for the smaller ones that have a hole in them. And then these bigger ones, they're held by like a claw. metal claw, but the actual metal claw is attached to the silky satiny bottom underneath. So they're all sewn on top of that. Then this bottom, the silky kind of net structure, is attached to the temples. Same thing applies to the front layer here on the frame of the glasses. So much work went into this. So that this little bit, after they're all set in stone, let me just look at them again personally. Yeah. Okay. It's a little tiny panel. It's incredible, actually, of that kind of silky netting on which they sew on or embroider the pearls or the crystals or whatever material they need to. And then they glue it onto the acetate. There's no other way of attaching it to the acetate. They can't screw it. It's all very fragile material. The same applies for the other temple. Now, this was one of the first looks on the Chanel at the fashion show. And I will be showing you also how it looked on the model. Of course, they worked with a lot of feathers and they worked with a lot of extra accessorizing on top of the head, but of the model. But this is kind of how simple they really are. This is a very simple model of sunglasses. I love that contrast, you know, the contradiction kind of that the shades are super simple and sleek, almost boring in a way, but then you add this incredible artistry and work that goes into it on the sides. It's just amazing. I love that contrast of simple. And this is also one of the reasons why for, you know, you've seen me, for those of you who follow me for my Chanel videos, you've seen me unbox the mini rectangular lambskin leather with silver hardware bag. Lambskin leather is the most luxurious leather Chanel has to offer. We're not talking about reptiles. I don't do that, but in terms of just classic Chanel bags. And I loved mixing that. So you could say that the lambskin leather is kind of the embroidery here on these glasses, and the silver hardware makes it more modern, fresh, less opulent, less decadent, and that would be the shape of the shades here. This shape is not luxurious at all, but the embroidery and the attachment of all of these extra crystals is very luxurious. So I love that sort of clash between, you know, styles, between norms, things that you think would not really fit well together, and they actually don't. This is a very experimental piece. I mean, you could say that they are not really beautiful. I mean, they're kind of ugly in a way. It's an experiment for sure, but a lot of work went into them, and I really, really respect that. I respect that a brand like Chanel goes that extra mile to create a piece like this that kind of breaks with all the norms. Now, as I was saying, and also my other sunglass videos, Chanel sunglasses 99% of the time are made in Italy, but this particular Haute Couture piece is made in France. So when they do make a piece made in France, you don't have all those article numbers describing to you, you know, the model number where, like, it doesn't have a huge number code, because these are all kind of unique pieces. They're all handmade. So in fact, what we have here, it says Chanel, handmade in France. Now that's a very, very special thing. You never see this ever. I mean, this is like the holy grail of Chanel, is to get something handmade by Chanel in France. So, and of course it's not focusing, it's very tiny, but I'll be posting more better pictures on Instagram. On the other side, where you could see the details, on the other side, we have the model. Now the model number in this case is not like a 7, it's not like a 5-digit number followed by other codes and letters. No, this one just says Modèle Bijou numéro 1. So this is number 1, bijou model number 1. So this was the first model. They made several that season. This was the Haute Couture 2007 collection. They made several. This was the first one. I will not be putting them on because they're very, very tight fit. And as you can see, I mean, first of all, they're extremely heavy. So if this were to fall, it would shatter and it would just break. Everything would fall off, I think. Just the weight of them, it's just, they're so heavy. And then the acetate in these 11 years has, I don't know if it's because of the weight or for whatever reason, but it kind of, as you can see, it's curved inwards. So I don't want to put stress on them to kind of like break them open to, you know, fit my huge head, because this was like made for a really tiny face. Could have even been a runway piece, so it was just made for the model. There's no way I could actually put these on, because every time I try to kind of like slowly open them up, you start hearing these like cracking noises. And it's not the crystals, it's just the acetate rubbing against the other, like the temple acetate hitting the other, the acetate of the frame. So you could kind of imagine how they look on, but this is literally a museum piece. I do not even know if this was just one made or if they made 2 or 3 of them, but that's how special these are. So they're going to be treated very specially. I am touching them without gloves just because for once I want to feel them. Like tactile, it's so important for me to imbue my energy into them as well. But how did they look on the runway? I actually have a picture of the model wearing it. Let's put myself to the side, and there you have it. This is how gorgeous it looked. Now imagine her, not just her, but a lot of other models wearing these sunglasses. By the way, different crystals were used and different patterns were used to adorn the same shape, basically, more or less, the same acetate ground shape, skeleton form was used, and then they had a different pattern, different crystals, different colors for every pair. This particular pair I have in my hand right now is worn by this lovely lady in the fashion show, and you could see all the feathers that they attached to the head. Could you imagine all of that under the rain? What a mess that must have been. But this is how they look. This was kind of Lagerfeld's take on evening wear for winter, but evening wear during the day with sunglasses for evening wear in winter. A lot of contrasts, a lot of paradoxes clashing together. This was a very, very strange collection. It was a really beautiful collection, but nevertheless a very strange collection. I do think that this shape of sunglasses kind of makes this model, just the shape of the frame, very 2007. This frame isn't used nowadays, and it's very kind of limited to that time. So in terms of these being timeless pieces, they're not. They're very Chanel and very 2007, which is what you get. And as such, they are a part of that particular history. They do have in the lenses an etched authenticity code number. Now, I do believe that this one in particular is attributed by Luxottica to the frame, just to the shape of the frame. But what Chanel then adds in their ateliers, in the Haute Couture ateliers, or whoever, you know, did it in France, the crystals, all this kind of heavy crystal with the silk and everything adorned. So the code, as I said, we have a code just for the Modèle Bijou numéro 1, number 1, and then we have the code for the actual lenses and frame, which is an authentication number. So I probably am going to end up trying to figure out this code exactly, to figure out where these were purchased, because that code also tells us which boutique sold them, what date, when, and blah, blah, blah. So this would be really interesting to know which boutique was selling an haute couture piece. I did hunt these down in the United States. So that's interesting to know as well, because there's a different approach to selling these fashion items in the States than in Europe. Also, mostly due to the music and film industry, certain pieces like this particular piece are more easily accessible there than they are in another part of the world, like Australia would be, or even in Europe. I mean, Chanel is in Europe, so everything stems from Europe, Chanel-wise. But certain, I want to say crazy pieces like this one, which are kind of one of a kind, who knows how much they were when they were new. That's something I also want to figure out with this code by trying to kind of test it out with the connections that I have. So these pieces are kind of more sought after when they're new in the States rather than in Europe, because people kind of have more wear out of them. They kind of show them off on red carpet events or some huge gala dinner or a charity event where all these rich people kind of just want to show off all their wealth, and it's kind of a status symbol for them to be at a charity event where they kind of show off to the other rich people how much money they donate. It's all kind of messy and really not nice if you think about it. But at the end of the day, it's the beauty and the artistry that is what attracts me here. And so I'm extremely thrilled to be able to add this incredible piece of Chanel design history into the Fashion Bunker archives. Not just that, but to add my first ever Chanel Haute Couture piece into the Fashion Bunker archives. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please do thumb it up and let me know what you think about this particular model in the comment section down below. Also, if you haven't already but wish to, consider subscribing to my channel here on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and I'm also on Patreon, Super Dacob spelled together, all spelled together. Thank you so much for my patrons that have pledged already and that are helping out the Fashion Bunker grow. If you wish to see special content and other surprises that are only available on Patreon, head there right now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you. As my t-shirt says, I say it too. I wrote it, so I said it. Never give up on love. Love ya. Bye. Mwah.